Hey, welcome to Bible U. My name is Landon. Today we're talking about how to understand Hebrew poetry. So I'm sure it's easy for you to understand the idea that when languages are different, the way that people speak are different, and little motifs and little words that have special meanings in English don't have the same meanings if you go to Spain or go to France. And it's the same way with the Bible. There are literary devices that the biblical writers used that were common in their day that are not common in our day, and understanding them is helpful. You don't need to understand these things to understand the text. The Holy Spirit can supersede that. But if you do understand them, it can help you understand more of what the author was going for from a literary perspective, and that can build up even more your understanding of the passage and of God. So I wanted to talk briefly about Hebrew poetry, specifically the Psalms, but Hebrew poetry is all throughout the Old Testament. We see it in Genesis 49. We see Moses speak in it. We see it obviously in the Psalms. We see a ton of it in the major and minor prophets. And there are little ways that they write that are different than the way an English writer would write. For example, the idea of a chiastic structure or a chiasm. We think of ideas linearly, and we watch movies linearly. So it starts, there's an incident, they're working on the solution, there's probably an enemy or an antagonist, they win the battle or the fight or overcome the problem, and then it's over. And that's how we think and see movies, television, ideas, music. Often, the Hebrew mind was in a chiastic structure, which means that the beginning and the end ideas bookend, and it climaxes in the middle of the story. Some of Shakespeare's novels are written this way. Romeo and Juliet climaxes with the fight with Tybalt in Act 3. That's a chiastic structure. A lot of Psalms are written like this. So what you'll see is when you read it, there will be an idea that's repeated at the beginning and at the end. And the best content is in the middle, where they'll say, "The Lord is my strength. I have chosen to make the Lord my trust." And everything surrounding that mirrors itself. But the point, the climax, the best part of the psalm is right there in the center. It's like a bullseye, like a central idea, and everything else is built around that. That's why sometimes when you read Psalms, it seems like it's kind of trailing off at the end. That's on purpose to fit what's called a chiastic structure. Another thing in Hebrew poetry is a synonymous parallelism, which is a repeated notion. Like in Psalm 78:1, it says, "Pay attention, my people, to my teaching. Be attentive to the words of my mouth." When you read that, you're like, just saying the same thing. That's the idea. It's a synonymous parallelism. He's saying an idea, then he's using different words to say it again. It's a Hebrew literary way of writing. We're like, we'll just say it once, but it's beautiful when you understand it. He wants to make the point, so he's saying it twice with different words. There's also something that's the opposite of that called an antithetic parallelism. Like in Psalm 1:6, it says, "Yahweh protects the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked will perish." So in the first line, he's saying, here's the point, blah, 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 boom, Yahweh wins, the good people win. And then it's an antithetic parallelism in the second line, but the way of the wicked will perish. And it's a literary device. And when you understand that, you're like, oh, cool, that's that. And you can just kind of study it, and it helps you. Another one is a climactic parallelism. Like in Psalm 29:1, it says, "A credit to Yahweh, O heavenly ones." Next line, "A credit to Yahweh, glory and strength." Some translations say ascribe or give worth to. The idea is very similar to the synonymous parallelism, but in the climactic parallelism, there is a repeating phrase that there is not in the synonymous parallelism. I'm sure you feel you're a bit like you're in Bible class right now, but that's the point of Bible U, is to understand more and more of the Bible. Now, I said this at the top, but I want to say it again. You don't need to understand Hebrew or Greek to understand the Bible. The Holy Spirit, who wrote the Bible through men, will be with you if you're a follower of Christ as you read and help you understand, especially if you lean in by faith. The Bible's not a textbook, but it was written according to the literary patterns of the time because the Holy Spirit wrote through people. So I don't want you to feel discouraged. You're like, oh, I don't understand this stuff. I can't understand the Bible. Of course not. You absolutely can. But God does say to love him with your whole heart, mind, soul, and strength. And so we're talking about mind in Bible U and the idea of applying your mind to understanding. And that's a wonderful thing, especially if as you're doing it, you're loving God with your heart. So you're not just reading the Bible as a textbook to learn ideas about parallelisms, which is great, but you're learning those ideas to learn more about God. And not just to learn more about God, but to know God. That's a wonderful pursuit. That is the point of the Bible, that you would know God and know his power. And so I hope that these things help you and bless you, but just keep in mind, you don't have to know them. But if you're pursuing God for your mind, it's a wonderful thing to know. Thank you for watching.